Okay. As I begin once again with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. The deer is on fire. Look at it. But I love it. I love spirit. Spirit motivates me. Yeah. And he's one of the most spirited people involved in this class. And I see him doing major things in the very near future, along with some of you other ones. You're going to be working together more in the future. I already know it. You're going to come out of this class right here with some study buddies that you're going to call this week and say, I like the way you broke that down. Can you explain that to me again so I can write it down? Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, listen, because every word from this point on is significant. So, again, no interruptions unless absolutely necessary. That's a point of information. So thank you for being with us on this Sunday, August 31st, 2025. I, of course, am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, and the subject for today is IBLEES Dilemma. Characters in the Quran are archetypes, not actual people. We are reading about levels of human development and behavior and how those behaviors are created, manipulated, and eventually overcome. How they are created, how they are manipulated, and how they are eventually overcome, meaning how in the end do we get the goodie out of this example that Allah is presenting to us through these passages. Iblis is seen as the troublemaker for human life. Iblis, despite what many of the scholars believe, is not Shaitan or Satan. Let me repeat that. Iblis is not Shaitan, although he is a contending frequency. He is created in order to contend with your excellence. Think about yourself in the workout gym and all of the tools you have around you, the bar, all of that, and the stretch thing and all that, and you're doing in the all of that. But those are that's what you're contending with for a particular purpose, to make your body and your health more excellent. That's the purpose of Iblis. The purpose of Iblis is not to destroy you, not to send you away with aches and pains unnecessarily. Again, the purpose of Iblis is to contend with your excellence so that you will, in the end, become more excellent. In the Quran, Iblis is operating on the level of the ego. And the ego is operating in your solar plexus. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up. Your solar plexus. If you understand the science of lunetics and its consonantal connections, you'll already see a connection between the word plexus and Iblis. If you understand what I'm saying, just shake your head, yes. All right. The PLX interchanges with the BLS in Iblis. The US is a Greek suffix, plexus. Solar is another word for sun. So the solar plexus is your sun plexus. Adam is your human excellence operating in its full capacity as a constantly evolving program of both intellectual and emotional brilliance. Adam represents your human excellence because Adam also represents the human intellect and its evolution. There are there are consonantal connections between the words Iblis with its BLS consonants and the word pleasure with its PLS consonants. In fact, Iblis represents what is called in psychology the pleasure principle. If you've studied psychology, even elementary school psychology, high school psychology, you know that they teach on something out of Freudian psychology called the pleasure principle. Look that up when you get a chance. Extreme pleasure is what we call passion. And the symbol for passion in psychology is fire. In the Quran, Iblis says that Allah created him from fire and Adam from clay. Iblis elevated himself above Adam based on that comparison. The pleasure principle is a central concept in Freudian psychoanalysis, representing the instinctual pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain to fulfill biological and psychological needs. It is the driving force behind the id, the most primitive and impulsive part of the psyche, which seeks immediate gratification without considering the consequences. Question. Sidebar. Do you think that Iblis was considering the consequences of his response to Allah? I'm better than him. Yes, that's Iblis' attitude. I'm better than him. You created me from fire. You created him from clay. Tell you what I'm gonna do is as soon as that chump ain't looking, I'm gonna come from before him, from behind him, from his right and from his left. And when I get finished with them, Allah, do you think Iblis actually considered the consequences of his refusal to do as Allah commanded him? He said, I commanded you to do so. Why did you not make such that when I commanded you? And miracle, I commanded you. The principle operates at an unconscious level and drives many of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. It is closely related to the concept of the primary process, which involves forming wish fulfillments and fantasies to alleviate internal tension. While the pleasure principle focused on immediate satisfaction, the reality principle is about balancing pleasure with the realities of life. As we grow, we learn that not all desires can be fulfilled right away. That's from Wikipedia. The ultimate objective of fire is to separate. The purpose of separation is so that we can study each component separately in order to reunite them properly. Think about the reason you submit to a surgical procedure. You have to have a stent put in your heart. You have to have some type of brain operation to remove some impediment that's causing you to not function correctly. But the idea is that I'm going to separate parts of your body, but not just to leave them separated. I'm not going to leave your heart on the, you know, whatever I put the heart on. My intention is not to open you up, take your heart out, and then go to lunch. It's only to open you up to correct the surgery and the procedure, and then to put stuff back where it's supposed to be. Follow this carefully. Life was not created with separateness as its end goal. Life was created for wholeness. That's what Muslim means. It means to be whole. I thought it meant to be at peace, instructor. Yes, but you won't be at peace until you become whole. As long as there are missing fragments, missing parts to the puzzle, you're not going to be satisfied just looking at most of the puzzle together. You want to find those missing pieces and put them in their proper places so that you can see what's called the whole picture. If you want to see the whole picture of what a human being is supposed to look like, that's what Muslim means. Because life, as I said, was created for wholeness. Life was engineered originally as an offshoot from one essential soul. Allah says in the Quran that He created us min nafsin wahida. That means from one essential self or one essential soul, the nafs. Life then branched off in order to reveal its many components in an effort to display its constitution. So Allah created us min nafsin wahida, from one, wahid or wahida, one essential component. Then Allah says, from it, its mate. So He split it then, that oneness became a two-ness, a duality. So the oneness is in you, the zawj is in you, the separateness, the partner, the complementary partner, the left and the right is there, the up and the down is there in you. And that's all a part of your essential program and character. Life then branched off in order to reveal its multiple components. Allah said, from there, many men and women that He created. Many men and women, many components. Fire is a symbol also of the human intellect in its local and limited capacity for providing light and warmth. So when you're reading your Quran and you're reading about the subject of fire, for instance, in the passage dealing with Iblis's words back to Allah, that you created me min nar, you created me from fire, and he thinks that's a major thing. Iblis is not realizing that I can almost spit on fire and put it out. I can step on some fire and extinguish it. But he's thinking this is a great thing, what I've been made of, what I'm able to do, my capacity. But the only benefit of fire is for those who choose to be close to it. If you're not close to fire and it's kind of chilly outside, it's going to do you no good. If you're not close to fire and it's very dark, intensely dark outside, unless you're close up on it where it's lighting the immediate environment and you're in that environment, you'll benefit from the fire. But if you're way down somewhere else and you can just, as Musa did, I perceive a fire. That fire was way down the hill. And nastunar, I perceive a fire. Let me go look a little bit more closely because there's no benefit in fire except to those who are in proximity to it. Other than that, I can't feel its warmth. Other than that, I can't experience its light and its benefits. When you look at things in the fitra, I know this is just a cartoon drawing, but when you look at things in the fitra, look at how they're formed. Look at the, not just the function. Yeah, I can cook some steak on top of this, or some burgers, but look at the form. Look at what it's doing, how it's rising. It's not going horizontal. This fire is rising. So when you understand what fire represents symbolically, then it will make a lot more sense to you what the symbolic aspects of your human development represent. Fire is always trying to raise up, and fire is always attempting to consume. something. This is why they call the average one of us in the so-called masses consumers. They know all they have to do is feed your fire, feed your passions, what you're passionate about, and you are going to consume. They don't come up with these terms just out of nowhere. They come up with these terms by studying the fitra of nature and then applying the logic to what they are creating in you. So if they want more consumers, they have to create more passion. They have to create more fire. Burn, baby, burn. In Al-Baqarah, that's Surah 2, Ayah 17, Allah says their similitude is that of a man who kindled a fire. When it lighted all around him, Allah took away their light and left them in utter darkness, so they could not see. So this very clearly indicates that the purpose of the light was so that people could see. But the other message here from our source creator is that a man kindled this fire. Fire also is represented in the sciences. Fire is represented in academics, academic learning. That's why they have the lantern on top of some of the colleges and universities. You see the Statue of Liberty standing there with a torch. Start looking at these things and questioning these things. So Allah says that the man kindled the fire, but when it lit all around him, that's a circle, then Allah took away their light and left them in utter darkness, so they could not see. Deaf, dumb, and blind, they will not return. And then the translator says, to the path. Allah never says to the path. He just says that they will not return. Summun, bukmun, umyun, fahum la turji'un. From raja'a, return. Summun, deaf. Bukmun, dumb, like a beast. What is called a behemoth. That's where they get this word, bukmun, bahama, consonantally speaking. Ba, kaf, mim, bukmun. That means a creature of no intellect, a creature of power and force, a creature of determination, great passion for things, but no intellect to guide it. Umyun, blind. I'm sure it's where they got the English word onion, because onions make you tear up. It makes you cry. You hold it close to the eyes, you won't be able to see some things that are right there in front of you because the eyes are too wet, too watery. Umyun. In history, it was the ancient Phoenicians that invented false language designed for mass consumption. They traveled the then known world in order to establish this scheme. The substitution of words within grammar became their forte. And this was done for multiple languages. This was done for multiple languages. The substitution of words, taking out one word that originally meant one thing and substituting it with a sound-alike word, a look-alike word, a related word, and saying this is what that means when it's not what that meant. It's just a substitute. And this was done, I repeat, throughout multiple languages, beginning in ancient Egypt and in ancient Greece. But it included the Arabic language when this strategy finally reached the Persians. The languages of Farsi and Urdu are its offshoots, oftentimes masquerading as Arabic. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of why there are so many translations of the Quran that say different things. Because they're not translating the original Arabic meanings necessarily. They're translating the meanings of the look-alike words, the sound-alike words from these other look-alike and sound-alike languages, such as Farsi and Urdu and such. One of the roles of Iblis is to take on false meanings in language so that meanings for words can be under constant change and supervision. It acts as a garment which can be substituted to accommodate any season. So they look at the outside in the window and what's happening at the door, and they, oh boy, it's just kind of chilly out there. We need to change this language up to accommodate the season. Oh, there's almost a war at our doors. We need to change up this hadith language now to speak about what to do with the kuffar and the enemies and the munafiq, and that we need to change up this language so that it reflects the season. We need to take these people over. So let's start to dress up our language so that it reflects our next moves. And if we can't do it through the Quran directly, then we'll do it through these manipulated words that we're going to call the words of Prophet Muhammad. We're going to build an attire. We're going to build a totally different set of garments for the one they're calling Muhammad. And when we need him to take this garment off and put the other one on, we'll do that. When we want to conquer a people and take over its young people, take over its young girls and all of that, then we'll put the Aisha one on them. We'll put that so-called hadith on them about how he married a 9-year-old. We need that right now. Let's go into that. When we need to take over a city, we'll put this other hadith on them where Muhammad went and just slew all of these people and took their stuff. we got to change of garments for every season. We call it hadith. It's not hadith. It's their stories. The word hadith is from the Quran, and it doesn't mean anything like what they're talking about. Allah says, we have given you from the most excellent hadith, sanul hadith, in this Quran.
إن الصديق حديثي كتاب الله.
I was waiting on that. The kitab of Allah. That's right. That's the most excellent hadith. And Allah says, and in what hadith will they believe in after this? In other words, this closes the door on what you should be calling hadith. All right. So this is how so-called Muslim scholars are able to justify evil actions in the name of Islam, quote unquote, and the Quran. This is how they're able to do it. Because the average good-hearted person who was newly introduced to Islam, the last thing they wanted to do is be seen as antagonistic towards the man who gave them that freedom. That would be Muhammad. They did not want to be on his bad side. So after he was dead and gone, they invented a body of literature that they put his name on because they found that the easiest thing to do, instead of arguing back and forth, haggling that we mentioned, instead of this haggling that we were doing, Rayford, yeah, that was a hodge right there. Instead of doing that, we'll just say Muhammad said. And if they argue with that, then in their minds, they're arguing with Muhammad. Don't shoot the messenger. That's what they used to tell you, right? Don't kill the messenger. This is what Muhammad said. It's amazing. The key to this manipulation of language is to limit the context by abbreviating the content. This is the reason for so many translations of the Quran and their variations of meanings when translated into other idioms. So you might be listening to a YouTube video or something, and you think they proved that the Quran said this, that they're saying the Quran said. And you're saying that's not good. You mean Allah said you could do this to people? You could treat people like this. You can hold them as enemies, and people who gotta pay you to stay on their land, and people that gotta, and all of this, and they just read it from the Quran, brother. This is what Allah. No, no, that's not what they're doing. They are presenting a language to you where they limit the context. They don't give you the whole picture. They don't give you the whole framework. They're not giving you the whole context of what's being said because they are abbreviating, they're cutting and pasting and snipping out and leaving out important words that are in that same ayah or in that same surah. So they're abbreviating the content so you won't get the whole picture that we spoke about earlier about what a Muslim is, one who brings the whole picture. The root word for Iblis is balasa, bait, lam, sin, and it means to despair, to give up hope. In the environment, this root verb is anything that covers over a thing, but can also be uncovered. Oh, what wisdom there is in what I'm saying now. I hope you got your real ears on. In the environment outside of you, if you're looking for where Iblis is, here's your hint. Anything that covers over a thing, but can also be uncovered, like clothing, can be put on and discarded or taken off or substituted. Allah says that in the end, Satan's schemes will be unmasked. Clothing is substitute skin. We're cutting a little bit deeper now. We're on the operating table. Be careful. Clothing is substitute skin. What your skin is doing for your body, clothing is substituting for that. Your skin is keeping you warm. Clothing is keeping you warmer. False language provides substitute sensitivities, meaning your feelings and your desires. Your skin is a symbol of feelings because in the skin is where the feelings are. Yeah, drink some.
Basharun.
There you go. And I was waiting on it. Basharun mithlukum. I'm a skin man, just like all the rest of you. I'm a bashar. I'm a sensitive human, like all of the rest of you. So skin clothes the body. Read about what Allah says about the clothing in the garden, the reasons for it, and you'll understand the reasons for language and communication. Your skin communicates to you. If it's in pain, if it's hot, if it's cold, it's your skin sending you those messages, those messages, pardon me. False language provides substitute sensitivities, just like we have substitute languages. But it's the languages, when you connect with them, that are creating these substitute feelings. It's like the bum, excuse the expression, on the street back in the neighborhood who came back from World War, whatever, and he lost his happy thoughts after he got back or while he was at war. And he's walking around wearing a beret or something with little bottle caps in it, like he's a decorated soldier. In his mind, he's still on the battlefield. And what's causing him to feel that way is his clothing. You remember how you used to feel if you were in the old Nation of Islam. You remember how you felt when you put that FOI suit on? You didn't feel like you felt when you were just wearing your pajamas at home. You put that FOI suit on, you're out there just yes sirring everybody who you pass. I'm in the nation, I'm in FOI. And everybody does that. The priest, when he puts his priest collar on, and the nun, when she puts her habit on, and clothing has a way of determining your very personality. It dictates your personality. You get dressed up with a suit and tie or with a nice dinner dress, you start to feel ways that you just don't feel if you're not wearing that getup or that outfit. False language provides substitute sensitivities, is the point. Today's modern music, with its twisted lyrics, are a clear indication of that. So they clothe these songs with false concepts of the self. They clothe this modern music, especially, with concepts that cause us to believe things about ourselves that are not true. James Brown had a song once called Sex Machine.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to be? I mean, we can, man, listen, this so-called black music, and we can use examples from that all day long. But that's the trick. That's where Iblis lives. I hope y'all are already past this foolishness they've sold us as religion. That Iblis is some fireball guy who lost his happy thoughts while dialoguing with Allah. You created me from fire. No, you created me from false language. That's how I'm created. Iblis makes another statement in the Quran in relation to As-Sirat al-Mustaqim. Does anyone know what that statement is offhand?
I will lay in their straight way, or I will sit
Yeah.
in their path, sit or stand. I can't remember the Arabic.
Okay. It's sit. The word is la'aqadanna. You don't have to remember that.
Then
La'aqadanna, and that's from the verb qa'ada, which you might recognize. Qa'ada is one of the positions that they told us was the salat position for sitting. Qa'ada. That's the position where you sit. It's called the second sitting. There are two sittings in the physical ritual salat. The first one is jalsa. The second one is qa'ada. Now listen to this carefully. This is a dynamite breakdown of this word, if I might say so myself. The first position is jalsa. That's where you get the word majlis. And majlis represents a group of people sitting. But they are all there for one objective. So if I'm at a concert, or if I'm at a stadium where they're playing football or whatever, and if all of the people who are sitting there are there for the same purpose, that's a majlis. Doesn't have to be the masjid. Muslim might tell you, oh, majlis is at the masjid. No, no, majlis is anywhere a group of people are sitting for the same purpose. When it's over, everybody getting up and going home. You get it? When the final touchdown is made, we're out of here. That's majlis. But they're all sitting and they're all paying attention to the same thing. But how does that differ from qa'da? When qa'da, if you look at the ritual sitting position, it looks exactly, basically, exactly like the jalsa. Here's the difference. Qa'da represents a sitting that takes place in private. Yeah. Jalsa is a sitting, but it takes place in public. Everybody can witness it. Everybody looking at the same thing, paying attention to the same information, the same performance, the same sport. But the qada is when you are sitting in the privacy of your own home with the people that you consider to be your private folk, your family, your wife, your children. You're all sitting around the table, or you're sitting in the den and you're studying the same stuff and all of that. You're giving lessons to your children. That's qada. So again, let's revisit now what Iblis says. That he will be sitting in qa'ada along your siratikal mustaqim. He will be sitting in your private concerns. Why are we out here protesting the public concerns? The first concerns that you need to protest are the private concerns. What's going on in your house? What's taking place with your family? Why is every other child being born now want to be turned into they want the boys to be girls now? How is that taking place? How do you get a 7-year-old to say, mommy, I want to switch genders? What influence was that came into the house and broke down the door and substituted one thought for another thought in a naturally fitra child 2 years ago? Now all of a sudden he wants to wear dresses and play with dolls. How did that happen?
Quran 7:16.
Read it.
Let me get it again.
Yeah, let me know when you get it.
Okay.
Right. So what is this that's going on in the society today? It's the Iblesian effect. It's the effect of the substitute clothing that makes you think you are somebody you're not.
Iblis said, because you have sent me astray, surely I will sit and wait against them, human beings on the straight path. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال فبنى أقواتني لا أقعدن لهم
The word I was
صراط
describing.
المستقيم.
That's the word I was describing. La'aqa'adanna.
أقعدن.
Yeah, la'aqa'adanna. That you are sitting.
أقعدن.
Yes. And the wonderful thing about this word, qada, is that the sitting has no time restriction, meaning I'm going to sit here as long as I need to. If you're sitting in public, can you sit there as long as you want to in the movie theater? No. You might get 1 or 2 showings and After that, man, the dude is coming with the big broom and he's saying, all right, listen, you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here because your sitting is limited. But when you're home, oh man, it's unlimited. I can sit here as long as I want. That's why in the masjid, when you're making your physical ritual salat, in that last sitting before you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you can sit there as long as you want. If it's not a ritual prayer that an imam is leading, if you're just making your individual salat, you can sit there for half an hour. You can sit there for 45 minutes in meditation, supplication, because Qada is not a time limited movement or idea.
Since
This is beautiful if you understand it.
the golf is connected to the subconscious mind.
Yes,
So
indeed.
he can be sitting in that area of your, like manipulating that memory or
That's it.
something that,
Yep. Yep.
affects the limbic brain.
That's exactly where he's sitting in your subconscious thoughts,
Woo!
in your subconscious processing of information.
Alhamdulillah.
And remember, anything you repeat to yourself over and over again, your subconscious believes it's true. Let's continue. Great contributions. The manipulators of this world have given us an inverted fitra. They created the snack called popcorn as a satire on this. When you heat it, the white is on the inside. The white that is on the inside, pardon me, is now displayed on the outside. And the yellow on the outside turns inward. I'll give you a picture of what I'm speaking to. White is purity and honesty in the person. When it is worn on the outside, see that whiteness is okay when it's on the inside. When it's worn on the outside, or as they say, when you wear it on your sleeve, it becomes a pretense at moral purity. The people who are walking around pretending to be moral superiors, the people who are walking around pretending to be the do-gooders, are you going to allow this one to rule who's out here causing mischief and bloodshed while we do celebrate? You see how that goes? While we do celebrate your blessedness, your holiness. When you go to church and the priest is doing all of these rituals and you got the smoke and all of that in the Catholic Church and these other places, or the Baptists, and they go in there and they're just hooping and hollering and screaming and frothing at the mouth and falling out and losing their consciousness in church, speaking in tongues that you don't understand. And we know you don't understand them because they don't understand. You never heard anybody come back and translate talking in tongues. But because these people do not know how the human brain operates, they can't explain why that happens and how that happens. That's a subject for another day. So the yellow of the corn, the popcorn, that yellow represents curiosity when it's on the outside, but it represents cowardice when it's on the inside. Now, you're not going to understand what I just said right away. You're going to have to listen back to this and then take a look at this next picture. That's popcorn. And it's already been popped. Before it was popped, it was corn. And the yellowness that you're seeing on the inside was on the outside.
Yeah.
And the whiteness that you're seeing on the outside was once on the inside. That's why they call it popped. It's inverted. It's backwards now because hate, passion has been applied. This is their science of what happens when they inundate a society with an overabundance of passion, desire, wanting stuff. The more you want stuff, the more you are telling the world that I am without stuff. That's how they know exactly who to manipulate. They wait and see what your desires are, and then they manipulate your desires. This is a wonderful science when you understand it. And they serve this particular food, the circus. Where all the animals are doing all kinds of tricks. You got bears riding bicycles, tigers, putting your arm in their mouth. And yeah, you got some crazy kind of scenarios at the circus. But that's where you find the popcorn. The conscious mind is also Iblis. Now I'm taking this a step further in your studies. Remember, these characters are archetypes. They're not real people in history. Iblis. That's not a real spiritual person lurking who was here 1400 years ago or 3000 years ago, flying around with a bunch of jinn and all that. That's not what this is. The conscious mind is also Iblis in that it is covering over. Remember, it's a garment. It is covering over the true mind, which is the subconscious mind. Your true body is your flesh body. But when you leave, in order to make a presentation to the public, you cover that body over with something false called clothing. I'm not saying don't wear clothing. I'm saying that's the proper use of clothing. The proper use of the conscious mind is to provide shade, to provide comfort for the subconscious mind. You have to provide covering for the subconscious mind because your subconscious mind accepts everything as being true as long as you continuously repeat it. You understand? That's how your subconscious mind operates. So you have to protect that mind. That's your woman you're protecting. That's why she covers up. You don't just put her out there in her short shorts and bikini bras and all of that. You don't stick her outside the door looking like that. She's supposed to be covered, but that's her fitra presentation. But let's look at what Shaitan does, because Shaitan, he blows the billows. He exacerbates and exaggerates the
Could that
fitra.
be Catherine, the faker?
Well,
No, never mind. If not, then
yeah,
okay.
well, I don't want to go into that because that's too many other ideas begin to stir up. If you see it as that, then do some writing on it and send it to me. All right. Now, stick with the idea I just gave you, and that is that the conscious mind is Iblis. Now, does that mean that that's all Iblis is talking about when Allah mentions him? No. The Quran is designed to speak to multiple layers of logic. The only difference between what the Quran is doing and what your standard book on history is, or whatever the comparative analysis of something, or what science does when it compares elements, and the only difference is Allah's logic is unlimited. Allah compares what he's saying in the Quran to things that you don't even know about yet. There's things that he created that you have no clue even exist yet, because the Quran is constantly unfolding, it's constantly unpacking itself. What it says about the human being is nowhere near the completion of what Allah has created a human being to be. He leaves it there as a gift for you to discover. Discover, uncover, uncloak. So that's what we mean when we talk about the subconscious mind in relation to the conscious mind. The conscious mind is your clothing, and that clothing should be appropriate. What you think and do on the conscious level has to be consistent with what Allah's will is for you and with what Allah's guidance has been dictating to you as performance. One of the features of the subconscious mind is to seek pleasure while avoiding pain. That's how Allah created you. You don't like pain. Allah tells you that in the Quran, in other words, said it may be that you dislike a thing that's good for you, and that you love a thing, that you gravitate towards a thing that's no good for you. Allah tells you that in the Quran, right? In other words. So the social schemers, however, have discovered that pleasure can be a more powerful, a more potent weapon for social manipulation than even pain. See, in the past, not even the far past, the far distant past, the relatively recent past discovered this. They used to only have those two principles operating in the psyche, according to Sigmund Freud, even the pleasure pain dynamic. And those things that provided pleasure, we used to like doing those things, and the things that caused pain, we would eventually move further and further away from them. That's in the natural dynamics of the human psyche, that we don't like pain, excessive pain, and we don't like, or we do like pleasure. But let's see how it's been manipulated. Again, the social schemers have discovered, and I say they discovered this in probably the last 100 years or less, probably the last 50 years, since what is called behaviorism was introduced into psychology by one called B.F., those are his initials, B.F. Skinner. Interesting name, isn't it? We're talking about the pleasure principle, and now we're talking about a guy who's got some skin in that game, B.F. Skinner. And skin represents sensitivity. See, Allah labels you when he wants to, when he needs to. B.F. Skinner. You got another guy in psychology dealing with Pavlov and the dog. How they train our appetites to gravitate towards certain kinds of stimuli. So most people associate the devil and hell with pain. Nobody wants to be in pain. It's like being with the devil. But look at how the scheme changed. Allah says in Surah 96, Ayat 15, speaking to the wrongdoers, let him beware. If he desists not, meaning if he doesn't stop this behavior, we will drag him by the forelock. And the forelock is called the Nasiya. And the next verse says, a lying, sinful forelock. Now, let's go back to the question. Where is the human being able to tell lies? Is it in his subconscious mind where everything is accepted as truth? It can't be there. He's innocent, completely innocent in his subconscious mind. He only believes it because it's being told to him over and over incessantly. Well, this must be the truth. But he can lie in the top portion of the brain called the neocortex. where he can lie and lie like a rug because he wants something. So he tell you anything. Yes, master, you are the greatest of all times. Yes, you are the best looking amongst all of the other authority figures. Yes, master. It'll tell you anything. Allah calls it a lying, sinful. You can't commit sin unless you intend to commit sin. Then Allah says, then let him call for help to his council of comrades. This is literally saying that for that guy, let him make dua. You thought dua was just for Allah? No, Allah says, let him فليدعو نادية فليدعو دعاء دل rain. Rulers, as we approach our conclusion, rulers no longer need to use force in order to rule. They have learned now how to use pleasure and are doing so with greater success. So instead of beating you to force you to do their will, they have learned the new science, the relatively new science of how to manipulate human behavior through the pleasure principle. And they're doing so, I repeat, with greater success than using pain, using denial. The plan was to anesthetize. I can't spell. The plan was to anesthetize. How do you pronounce that? Anesthetize, provide amnesia. I'm just a high school graduate. Don't be too harsh. But this was the plan, to take all 5 of your basic senses and administer anesthesia so that the sense becomes dulled to the point where you can't think. I don't know if y'all are hearing me correctly. The plan of the social planners, the social manipulators, you call them shayateen, that their plan for manipulating society has been stepped up. They've stepped up their game a bit by moving away from trying to manipulate you based on how much pain they bring. Bring the pain. That's what used to put people into order. Yeah, that's what used to put people into doing what you wanted, to skipping and jumping and hopping. As soon as you I'm gonna put you in the chamber, I'm put you in the whatever, we're gonna whip you. That's what used to move people yesterday. That's not what moves people today. What moves people today is to provide you with so much pleasure that your senses become inundated and acclimated and anesthetized or anesthetized.
Or desensitized, is that a good word?
Yeah, it's a desensitizing also. That's right. And it's for pleasure. The words that they choose are important. They call these people entertainers. Enter, you know what that means. That means you can come in with or without permission. And you're coming in through 2 doors. That's what tain means. Enter, tain. In Old English, they called it twain. It means 2. So now you know that what entertainers are doing, they are appealing or asking permission in some cases to enter through 2, because you have to give them permission to come in.
Like the movie Sinners.
I haven't seen it, but I can bet. You have to give them, that's in all scriptures, that you have to give evil an invitation. That's what a dua is. A dua is an invitation to come through the dua, the dal, the door.
Individual.
Yeah. The dal in dua means door, a two-way movement, back and forth, back and forth. The word individual means indivisible, dual. It's a two-ness that cannot be divided. That's what you are. You think you're one person, but they called you an individual. They know behind closed doors that you are, in essence, two people, because they know they're not talking to your flesh and blood when they talk to you. They know they're talking to your mind and your heart. They know they're talking to your conscious mind as well as your subconscious motivations. So they put it in their language that they're speaking to a dual component when they're speaking to so-called one person. They're speaking to both Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
They are one unit, min nafsin wahida in the Quran, created from one soul, and then from that oneness came the zawjaha, the two-ness. The two-ness was already power packed into the oneness, because Allah is the only ahad, the only true one,
And he created them.
Adam, and named them Adam in the day that he named them. So in the Bible, in Genesis, Adam is dual. In your head, Adam is both your conscious mind and your subconscious mind.
Individual.
And the serpent in the Bible is your unconscious mind, meaning your raw instincts. Because your raw instincts are responsible for things that are going to keep you in survival mode right now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday. It keeps you in survival mode right now. Survival mode is what we're calling the present time right now, the present time. And present is an anagram in English for the word serpent. Same letters, same exact letters, just interposed. And the word shaitan means separator of the thing. This is shaitan, plural is shayateen. We already know that teen means clay, shapeable clay, clay that has some moisture content. But many of us don't know that the word shay means to separate into small pieces. So they give you, in fact, they don't give you anything conclusive when you look it up in the dictionary. They just say the devil, the enemy of mankind. You know, they just start rattling off what they think it means. I'm telling you, according to consonantal connections and numetics, shaitan means the one who is separating the clay. That's his main focus, to keep you separated, to separate your intellect from your emotions, to separate your emotions from your instincts. Your instinct says, don't kill the man. He wouldn't do nothing that bad. And you go ahead and kill him anyway. That's your instincts doing that. If I let him live, he might kill me. So your rational mind is already out of the picture. And you're making a decision now based on the leadership you've given to your instincts over even your emotions that say, don't do that. That's how they've divided the human being up. Stop thinking this is some firebrand character called the devil who fell from heaven and all of the rest of that. No, the heaven he fell from was your upright mind, your uplifted ambitions and motivations. That's where he fell from. That's this heaven that IBLEES and whoever else came down from heaven. That's the lofty position that they fell down from. This is not a historical account of people falling out of the sky into the earth for a time. Has nothing to do with that. Diabolos, they call him the devil from the Bible. Diabolos, that's a Greek word. And it means the same thing, the one who fell. But don't you see the name Iblis lurking in that word? You see the same consonant, just dia, down, bolos, Iblis. He's hiding everywhere. So to be successful, dear people, we have to be more aware of the schemes of Shaitan. Allah never says that Shaitan will appear weak. He says that his schemes are surely weak. He says, fight the schemes of Shaitan. And he is an invisible frequency operating in you. If you got rid of every human being on earth, you'd get rid of Satan. Won't be no Satan here to bother anybody because the rest of the creation doesn't carry those frequencies. Only the human being can fall that low. The use of constant pleasure is the key to this manipulation. It's not to be under the pleasure principle sometimes. That's normal. That's the way Allah created you. For some things to give you pleasure for a time, and for other things to cease and desist with the pleasure so you can get some stuff done.
Chronic.
Right? So it's the use of constant pleasure that is the key to this manipulation. They have learned to keep this society, especially the Western world, under constant pleasure. 24-hour entertainment, 24-hour pleasure, pornography, comedy, adventure. You can get it 24/7 now. That wasn't the case not even when I was a boy. Television went off at midnight. Some of you remember, most of you should remember that. That's what you woke up to if you fell asleep before 12 o'clock. So in order to break this spell, you must break the constant use of entertainment. Now, I'm telling you something that is all important right now. You have to, I have to, we have to break the spell that comes from the constant use of them entering the tane, entering the two, entering the mind and the heart, so that they can have a hostile takeover of the mind and put your heart in charge. So that they could have a hostile takeover of your Adam, so that they can leave your Eve in charge. Because they know it's just a matter of time before Eve listens to and acquiesces to the authority of the serpent of what should I do now? What should I do immediately? What is the survival brain saying I should do? Because that's dealing with me staying here now. These are all conditioned responses that are taking place in the way Allah created human beings. And that is the reason we need guidance. Hudan. But the Hudan will only come to al-Muttaqin, the possessors of taqwa, consciousness, right and wrong, good and bad, clean and filthy. If you let all of those things in simultaneously, you're going to have a wreck as far as your human development goes. There's a wreckage waiting for you. You can't let in bad things, things that you know are filthy, things that you know Allah condemns, and try to mix it in, separate them into different rooms and compartments. And I can be like this, for Juma. I can be this righteous guy for Juma, but on Saturday, I got to party.
Fiction, Vitra.
I got to shake my bum on Saturday night. You kidding? I'll go back to being that Mr. Righteous Nice Guy. That's for Sunday. For church. Monday, you know what they say. No, one day of praying and 6 nights of fun. I think I got it right now. That's what the Christians say. Reality. I've taught on this in the last couple of weeks. The real word is ality. It's not in the dictionary. Reality is a reformatting of what's called ality, and ality means true existence. See, you thought reality meant true existence. No, reality is the redoing, the reimagining, the reformatting of ality.
Related to Kiyama too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see it.
So we're talking about the fitrah being the original ality. Ality is from the Arabic word ala. Ala means up on top of, responsible for. That's what Allah created this entire universe for, so that the human being will be responsible for it as the Khalifa fil ard, in the earth. So when you build something or when you substitute something for that ality, you're redoing the fitrah. You're reintroducing the fitrah through a false lens. And that's why Allah says, do not make any alterations in Allah's fitrah. In the creation of Allah, he actually says, in the khulq of Allah, meaning the programming that Allah put into everything, the way he wanted it to behave, the way he wanted it to perform. Allah says, do not make any alterations in that programming. Don't come into my office and start reprogramming my computer. What I have in there is what I want in there. You come in and you start putting AI in there and you started putting some other writing program, some word perfect. I didn't ask you for all of that. Don't come reprogramming my computer. That's what they're doing in the world by reprogramming humans.
Assalamu alaikum. Are you saying my favorite 30-30?
You know I am. Do not let there be any alterations in the creation wrought by Allah. It is the fitrah of Allah. But Allah tells you at the end of that ayah that most people ain't gonna get it. You know why he says that? Most people do not know. So you won't waste time with most people. Waste time trying to explain this to Pookie and those them guys. And LaQuisha and them. They either get it or they don't. If they don't, move on. Waste time with them because they black. Black people need more time. No, you don't. You got a mind? Well, that's enough. If your mind can't grasp what I'm telling you in this plain language that I'm giving it to, then I'll see you at the end of the line with Yusuf's brothers. Exactly what he did with them. Say, y'all don't get this, get to the end of the line. It's not that I don't have anything for you. I just don't have the best for you. So the false fitrah has been substituted for the real fitrah. Now I'm going to tell you very clearly in this last line how to determine what the false fitrah is from the real fitrah. Y'all ready for this? Yeah, I spoke for you. All right. The false fitrah is that which is congruent with the natural world. And that's the false fitrah. Pardon me. The false fitrah is that which is incongruent with the natural world. Yeah, that's the false fitrah. Let me give you an example. When you wake up in the morning, whatever time you wake up, and the first thing you do is grab a cigarette, you're in the world of the false fitrah. Because nature doesn't call for you to do that. You were taught that. When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is turn on the radio or the television or your cell phone, I got to see my shorts. You're looking at through your cell phone. You ain't even out of your jammies yet if you got any on. That's the world of the false fitrah. That's the world of reality. You think it's real. I got to see what my man did yesterday. I can't help it. I'm stuck. See, you are addicted. Talking to you straight up. If you behave like that, in the morning when you get up, you're addicted. If you go to make yourself a drink or whatever and you load it with sugar and all kinds of stuff and you're already half all the way diabetic and you just can't help it. You put all kinds of stevia and sweetener and packs of honey and all kinds of stuff, and you just think you're doing the right thing, and it's just some water. It's just some sugar water, and you do that even before you drink real water. And then the real water you think you're drinking is not even real water. That's the false fitron. If you wake up in the morning and it's completely silent, and you have to have some noise, or you're gonna go crazy. It's too quiet, and I've heard people say this. It's too quiet in here. You, as soon as you get up, you got to turn on the television. You got to turn on WBLS. You got to turn on, whatever the sports channel or whatever. And now you can just sit back and rest. Um, and you go to sleep like that at night. You don't even turn stuff off. So all kinds of subliminal messages are entering into the mind, and you don't know what they're saying to you or conditioning you for. That's the false fitra. But when you can wake up in the morning and make sure that all extraneous noises are off and enjoy that silence. That's how you know you have entered the pristine, pure world of the fitra. And that's also how you know you are performing the pristine, pure salat. I'm talking about that mindset. I'm talking about the mind that needs, that prefers. Allah says, we have preferred for you al-Islam. He didn't say he was going to force it on you. We have preferred al-Islam as deen. Well, that's it. You prefer quiet. You prefer what is called silence, which means that you and others around you are going to remain silent. Silent came from the Arabic word salat. Yeah, make sure you write these things down. You may never hear them again. Silent gave us the word salat. Do you think they were going to tell you that? Or did you think they were going to just keep that to themselves? So now they know how to begin each and every moment of their day. They know to begin it in silence. It's just that the monks and those people, they took it to the extreme and they stay silent all day. They don't talk to anybody at any time. They stay in the silence in the mountains. And so Allah said, no, 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 that ain't what I was talking about. That's not what I'm calling for. Your mother call you, you don't want to answer the phone. We do. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a silence that allows you to listen. Listen carefully. Your silence has to be for purposes of allowing you to listen. Did you see that the words listen and silent are carrying the same consonants and letters? If you're being silent, but you're not listening to anything, that there's no growth and development there. The purpose of silence is so that you will have the grand opportunity of paying attention through your listening devices, your ears. And if you're listening, then you're providing yourself with the opportunity for understanding. You see your ears? They're standing under your eyes. So you're not trying to see stuff first. You want to hear stuff first. When the baby is born, the baby is not seeing things first. He could hardly see. Doesn't even see in color. He sees his mother because she's right in his face. But that guy that's calling himself daddy back there near the window, I don't know who that is. I'll find out about him in another month or so. So you have to be silent to take advantage of the true Salat. I'm going to read to you a few pages from my new book on Salat. I'll probably do it at some point during the week. It's called Everything You Need to Know About Salat But Didn't Know to Ask. I have 3 books on the Salat already, and this one is the king of them all. You can begin putting your order in. Some people have. They're only $25. But the information that is going to be power packed with is going to be phenomenal. What a gift from Allah to us. Not to me, to us. You still don't know yet the impact that this Nunetics group, this Nunetics course is going to have on the world. And I say that with boldness and with confidence, that we are going to impact the very trajectory of what they're calling Islam in the entire world, not in Chicago. See how jacked up Chicago is? Michigan. These other center cities where all of the mayors look like us. What an embarrassment that is. But something has to change the trajectory. The trajectory is here. And some of you don't like the way Allah's cleanup crew works. Some of you don't like the Khalifa because you think he's creating mischief and bloodshed. So you have to learn how to identify even a Khalifa when he's in the world. It's not about whether you like that Khalifa's work or not. And let me say this, the Khalifa is never one person. There's no character in the Quran that represents one person. I don't care if you're talking about Musa, Muhammad, Ibrahim, none of them represent one. They are archetypes. The Khalifa is an archetype. He's a type. He's a template for the building of personalities on this planet. Allah says that your death and your resurrection are as one nafs, one soul. So why he need to bring you groups to make his point? All he got to do is bring you the template for that one soul that he wants in the world and let that blueprint go to work. Boy, I hope y'all understood that. Might not have many opportunities to explain it this clearly. So the word false is related to the word fallacy. Look it up if you don't know what it means. And the word Iblis is also related to the word false. So Iblis is any deviation from the pattern that Allah created for you. Anything that is showing you a different construction, a different blueprint for your human development. If that blueprint is Iblis and he's created from fire, that's not for you. Let somebody else burn, baby, burn. That's not what we do. Let's go burn down the city. No, that's Iblis's thing. I don't do Iblis's stuff for him. Let's burn down city hall. No, I don't do burn. I don't do that. And the people who are true proponents of Satan's energies, of his frequencies, they are laughing all the way to the bank, knowing that you don't know what the hell you're talking about or doing, and you're really just incinerating yourself with these ideas and all of this hate that they're getting you to fall into. You just hate everybody now. I hate white people. White people are the reason why the world is a mess. No, they're not. You mean to tell me these people who have been born in the last 80 years, they're the reason why the whole history is corrupt? They're the reason you don't like white people because of what the ones who were born in 1963 and 1959 did. And if they did it, did they do it because of influences and frequencies, or did they do it because they were born into so-called white skin? That's not even white skin. That's how badly we've been fooled. They're calling people white and black, and when you look at them, they look like pink and brown to me. They look like different shades of brown and tan, but we call them all black people. That don't tell you right there that he's been messing with your mind. I put a white piece of paper up from my computer next to a white person's face, and his face looks more pink. Or some of you like to say it's the orange man. That's not white. So why are we still saying black and white people? Imam Muhammad told us against that. He told us against that years before he passed. And as soon as he passed, most of his top leaders started going back to calling people black and white. That creates an impediment in your mind to call people. You don't even call your dog a black dog. You say this is a Labrador Retriever. You pretty much forget about the fact that his fur is black. This is a German Shepherd. You don't say this is a tan and brown dog. Look at my brown puppy. That's not how you call puppies. The whitest of pup, cute. The white cat, the furry white cat. You don't call them. Go get my white cat out of the other room. You don't refer to them. How can you refer to something higher than animals as just by colors? It keeps us in this retarded framework. And by retarded, I don't mean anything against any clinically retarded people. I have people in my family that are clinically retarded. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that which deviates from the fitra. That's retarded. Retarded is a term. See, this is what I mean by the manipulation of language. The original meaning for retarded is that which goes against the growth of plant life. So if you're not growing, as Allah said, like a plant grows, you're retarded. The plant has stages of growth and development. A plant has to first have appropriate soil. Do you have an appropriate soul? If you don't, then you're not even in this conversation. I'm not talking to my class now. All of you have qualified for what I'm talking about as far as the soul goes and the ability of your intellect to suck in moisture, moral principles, emotional balance. All of you, as far as I'm concerned, are on that level. I'm talking to people outside of here. How is your soil? And like the commercial says, what's in your wallet? Anything valuable in there? In your soul? So that's my message for today. I think we had a very good class. More excellent than even on other weeks or on other days of the other Sundays. I think we've had a very enlightening day today.